5 years on the East Coast, it was time to go home.
Well, look who just decided to return back to the hellhole that is the Sonic fandom to battle the demons from my past. This video marks the beginning of a 6-part video series I'm doing, covering Amy Rose's journey in the Sonic franchise, ever since her inception. Amy is a character that I hold the dearest and closest to my heart, and while a lot of the series is going to be pretty personal and biased in her favour, I promise that I do have a lot of critical things to say about her down the road. So I figured that there wouldn't be a better place to start than to discuss what is arguably her most well known and also most polarizing depiction to date, her portrayal in Sonic X. I'm going to go through as many of her key moments as I possibly could, season by season, and afterwards going through as many of her games and external appearances as I could cover from the 90s to where she is today. A few prerequisites before I start though. I will be flip-flopping between both the English and the Japanese versions. It usually isn't ideal to use the English dub in any circumstances. The dub has been infamous for many years for its heavy censorship and mistranslations, as well as cutting and removing a lot of content. However, I'm still kinda wary of the strict copyright the Japanese version has on here. I know people have uploaded clips from the Japanese version on here before in the past, and there is a channel that has uploaded comparisons between the English and Japanese versions that I'll give credit to. Hopefully I could get away with doing this, or we'll just have to wait and see. However, the English dub is also the version most people have watched, so I aim to draw comparisons between the two versions, as the Japanese version has a bunch of deleted and edited scenes removed from the dub, and I believe these differences all go back to how Amy's public reception has been affected at this point in the franchise that I'll explain later in the review. Lastly, the Japanese version I'm using might be different from the one other people have watched elsewhere. As of writing this, the sub can be watched on Hulu alongside the English dub. However, it's only available to watch for Americans. So as you might guess, I am not American and I don't have a Hulu account. However, I also happen to find the Japanese version somewhere else in, let's say, the more shadier corners on the web, which I won't share here in case the worst case scenario happens, but it still wouldn't be too difficult to find with just a simple Google search. So there may be some differences between the two sub-versions, so keep that in mind. However, I still don't think those sub-differences will detract that much from the review anyway. So with that out the way, let's kick off the review. So, editor's note, I tried to upload the original means of making this review by using clips of the show, but some of the portions of the video got blocked worldwide. So, from here on out, I'll pretty much only be using screenshots, which might be a bit disappointing to hear for some people. While there are people out there that have reviewed the show and used clips of it without getting their videos blocked worldwide, I'd rather just play it safe this time. And besides, I got a life I kinda want to get back to once this retrospective's over, so I would love to quickly get this whole video series done for my own sake, just so I don't waste any more time with it living rent-free in my head. With that out the way, let's kick off the review for real this time. Our story begins with Sonic infiltrating Eggman's base back on their homeworld, with Tails and Amy assisting him. After struggling against the obstacles of robots, bullets, traps, and missiles, Sonic eventually breaks inside. Inside the Eggman base is where Sonic confronts Eggman, as it's revealed that he's up to his old tricks again, this time with the Chaos Emeralds. After a showdown between one of his robots, the robot accidentally shoots the machine the Chaos Emerald is powering, causing the machine to malfunction and initiating Chaos Control, warping everyone in the scene, including all of Sonic's friends watching the chaos from afar, away from their world and into Earth, a world very similar to theirs but still not their own. We don't see Amy again until the 3rd episode, where she's seen walking alongside Knuckles in an underground sewer. They argue for a bit. Knuckles blames Sonic for his recklessness back on their home world, whereas Amy is quick to defend him, claiming that Sonic was really only trying to stop Eggman. But in Knuckles' fashion, he doesn't want to hear it. Amy later strikes up a conversation by asking Knuckles about the chances of them getting back home, in which Knuckles can only assure her that they will get there as soon as they can find a way out. It was then that they suddenly felt massive thuds coming from above them. When Knuckles and Amy lift open the manhole, they see a giant robot wreaking havoc across the city, which turns out to be one of Eggman's robots. Eggman has also been transported to this new world, and he is planning on taking over this world as well. After some threats made by Eggman to force the city to surrender their land, Tails comes to the rescue. Accompanying him is Chris Thorndyke, a child that Sonic met upon arrival to Earth, who has been sheltering and looking after him and his friends ever since, in hopes of finding a way to bring them back home. Watching the battle between the Eggman robot and Tails from afar, Amy grows concerned and goes out to help him, prompting Knuckles to follow after her, saying that she'll only end up getting herself hurt. Once they reach the rooftop, Amy charges in to give the robot a massive whack. However, the robot didn't faze at all and grabbed Amy in retaliation. Knuckles attempts to rush in to save her, but is held back by Eggman, who threatens him that Amy would be a goner if he takes one more step. Just when all hope for our heroes is lost, Chris oversees Sonic speeding through the city, so they fly below to his location. Chris hands Sonic a ring, which powers him up. Eggman, noticing Sonic, orders the missile wrist robot to shift its focus on him. The robot lets go of Amy, sending her flying into the air, but thankfully Knuckles catches her. As Knuckles and Amy watches, the robot shoots out an array of missiles towards Sonic, but to no avail. After Sonic tries the slap on the wrist tactic, he ends up completely destroying the robot, leaving Eggman defeated, and flying away in disgust. After Sonic's victory, Amy hugs him, much to Sonic's discomfort, as she was worried she was never ever gonna see him again after they'd been separated. Their moment was however interrupted by a plethora of gun soldiers holding Sonic and friends at gunpoint. But luckily, Tails is still flying above them, and he sends out a ladder for his friends to grab onto. Sonic, Amy, and after some convincing, Knuckles, all grab on and the team escape. Chris tells the crew that they will go back to his house where they can all reside there for the time being. For here on out, the Thorndyke Mansion serves as a home base for Sonic and friends for the time being. Here they agree on finding all 7 of the Chaos Emeralds, as they were the source of the Chaos Control back on their home planet, and Sonic and friends see gathering all 7 of them as a means of them getting back home. The problem is though, they don't know where to look for them. However, they end up speculating that they could very well be scattered across Earth as the result of the Chaos Control. This plan wouldn't be too straightforward for our heroes to pull off though, as Eggman too is after the emeralds, and has been constantly thwarting their journey with his schemes on world domination. They did, however, manage to retrieve one of the emeralds from a construction site. They also have to mainly hide from the public due to their rather quirky characteristics compared to the human species. And boy did they have a couple of close calls. Eventually though, they wouldn't be able to hide their secret from the Thorndyke family any longer, and after some getting used to, Chris's family does end up accepting them as part of their own. The first Amy-centered episode in the series is episode 9, The Last Resort, an episode I love very much and for good reason. The heroes plan on going to a newly founded resort to hang out and relax, but Sonic, in his usual antisocial fashion, declines the offer and runs off. Amy reveals that Sonic in fact hates water and therefore can't swim, and that revelation made Chris recall the moment where he had to save Sonic from the drowning in his own pool. So they arrive at the resort and they're all seen having fun. Amy in particular snorkeling and swimming underwater, enjoying the remaining life. Amy is later seen walking along the beach where she daydreams about Sonic, falling in love and fantasizing about him. That is until a coconut falls on her head, stopping her in her tracks, forcing her to throw the coconut out into the ocean in anger, which unintentionally hits an octopus-like robot. De-escalating from that mishap, Amy then oversees a couple nearby, where the girl gives her boyfriend a Lucky Charm bracelet to protect himself from water. And that in return gave Amy an amazing idea. Amy rushes back to the villa where she makes the same bracelet with seashells for Sonic. However, Eggman shows up, and with the help of his robots, destroys the resort nearby in hopes of building his own amusement park in its place. Sonic returns back home at the Thorndyke Mansion, where he sees the action foregoing at a news coverage, prompting him to rush over to the scene. Tails and Amy also head to the action. Once Sonic arrives, the octopus robot grabs Sonic, intending to drag and lure him into the water, in which Sonic tries his damn hardest to escape. Just when his efforts seem futile, Amy jumps out of the boarding X tornado and smashes the tentacle that is grabbing Sonic with her hammer. This causes the octopus robot to fall backwards, and with Tails' help, Sonic uses a ring to power himself up to completely destroy the robot, sending it underwater. Amy and Sonic have their moment together where Sonic thanks her for saving his life, but just when Sonic was about to leave, Amy shows him the bracelet she made for him, and wants him to wear it to protect himself from water, and to give him good luck. But before Sonic can even grab the thing, the whole ground started shaking, causing Amy to lose hold of the bracelet. Another Eggman robot lands on top of the bracelet, destroying it. This rightfully leaves Amy heartbroken, which quickly turns into rage. And what happens next is the epitome of why you don't ever want to make Amy mad. Noticing Amy is about to drown from defeating Eggman, Sonic does the unpredictable. He swims over to Amy to save her, despite himself being afraid of water, and Amy telling him in her head that he can't swim. He just cannot let Amy drown after all that she's done for him. She is still holding onto that bracelet as she slowly loses her consciousness underwater. The scene then cuts to Amy chasing after Sonic, presumably on the remote island, but Sonic stops running after a bit and looks back at Amy. When he opens his mouth to speak, a voice that's definitely not his comes out, snapping Amy back to reality. Cream reveals that Sonic has just left, and Amy finds out that the bracelet she had is not in her hand. Upset that she may have lost it, Amy explains to Cream how she initially made the bracelet for Sonic to give him good luck, in which she and Cream agreed that Sonic probably already had good luck anyway. Lastly, Sonic is seen on his own, revealing to be wearing what appears to be the very bracelet Amy made for him, all fixed up. While this episode, in the grand scheme of things, seems like the average Monster of the Week filler episode, I'd say that this is a filler episode done right. It establishes Amy's character as a girl that loves Sonic, and how much she cares for him, and also shows how much Sonic cares for her as well, even going as far as conquering his aquaphobia to save her from drowning. And the entire scene of Amy helping Sonic out and completely obliterating Eggman and his robots is just pure badass. So this episode gets a thumbs up from me. The fight for the Chaos Emeralds continues on. One of these instances has the heroes playing a game of baseball against the evil Doctor. While the heroes do end up winning the game, Eggman still steals the emerald anyway. It's at this point where the president and the city government eventually grew concerned with Eggman's various attempts at world domination, so they send the military out to attack Eggman's base. Sonic and friends will assist in their battle, even stealing the emeralds away from the Doctor, and they eventually destroy the base. As a result of this achievement, Sonic and friends are now seen as celebrities to the public eye, with Sonic himself being praised as a hero. This newly found fame has given our heroes the incentive and confidence to go outside more, attending the president's party at the White House, going shopping, and even going on vacations. This, however, still leaves the heroes in a very awkward situations with the public, as they're still viewed as weird alien creatures, which in return really tested the patience of our heroes, especially Amy. They do end up getting stuff like passports, licenses, and social security cards to validate their identities, although Amy had a few issues with her passport photo. They go to a castle where Chris's mom is shooting a movie. Inside, they fight a bunch of ghosts, including the big king-sized one from Sonic Adventure 2. Amy even gets possessed by one, and when she wakes up, well, that's when she turns berserk towards her friends. Eventually, Sonic does end up freeing Amy from the ghost's mind control by karate chopping her in the neck. Although this was cut from the dub, as the ghost leaves Amy the second Sonic shows up. Wonder why? Another episode I want to bring attention to is Cruise Blues. Chris's father offers Sonic and friends a trip to his cruise ship. Knowing Sonic and his relationship with water, he begs to get off, but it's no use. The team finds out that Sonic has been acting very hyper and weird, leaving them concerned. Mad about this, Amy stops Sonic to a halt and gives him a huge pep talk. By the way, this scene in the Japanese version is actually a fourth wall break, warning Sonic of what the viewers of the show would think of him. Something that the show would constantly do on a number of occasions, including on this episode alone. Sonic has been known for his fourth wall breaks many times before, in some of the games, and even cranked up to 12 in Sonic Boom, so this is no different. Sonic tries to walk off, but suddenly collapses to the floor where he's actually pretending to faint. Amy and the rest of the team actually believed him, and surprisingly enough, Chris calls his father to send a helicopter to bring Sonic back home. Before Sonic could enter the helicopter, he is stopped by a horde of elderly citizens. This allows the helicopter to leave at Sonic's expense, leaving him to cry out for it. Since he can't fly away, he tries jumping from the ship instead, a whopping 15 times to be exact, but has all led to him plummeting to the waters below. No options left, he tries a few mischievous tactics. He first goes up to Tails to manipulate him into thinking his ex-tornado was awfully lonely back home, leaving the twin-tailed fox to feel pretty guilty and sad. He then goes up to Amy to confess his true feelings for her. This shot honestly reminds me of the Amy one from the Last Resort episode, where I interpret this as how they kinda perceive one another, but not necessarily how they actually feel towards one another. Amy's shot with all the love hearts surrounding her. In Sonic's eyes, he sees a girl crazily and madly in love with him, whereas in Amy's point of view, Sonic's this dazzling, charming guy confessing his love for her. Not that it really adds to anything, it's just something I found pretty endearing, I gotta admit. Here, Sonic tells her how much he would love her if she swung her hammer like crazy, which Amy actually believes. So Sonic tells Chuck and Chris that Amy has gone berserk, leaving the duo wondering why both Tails and Amy has been acting weird, although Chuck still does have his suspicions. Just then, Amy and Cream enter the cabin where they talk about Sonic's supposedly change of heart. This gives the Fortnite duo the revelation that Sonic has been lying to them the whole time. Even though the team remarks on how rude it was for Sonic to play with Amy's feelings like that, Amy, still being mad that Sonic played with her emotions, wasn't entirely done with him. She tells Sonic to come down from the pole because she has a bunch of things she can do with her hammer that she wants to show to him. But Sonic wasn't buying it, prompting Amy to repeatedly hammer the pole to get Sonic to come down. The Japanese version of the scene has Sonic actually apologizing and begs for Amy to not use her hammer, making this version of the scene more scary on his side than it had every right to. Eventually, Sonic gives up and lets Amy sit on top of him, still mad and grasping her hammer. When Sonic defeats Eggman for the gazillionth time, he does end up getting used to being on the ship, and thus everyone is happy. Overall, this episode is quite iconic, but mostly for the wrong reasons. This once again shows Sonic's fear for water, but it also shows Sonic's manipulative side, as he deceives his two closest friends for his own gain. And it also shows Amy's more aggressive side as well, being way more upfront with him than in any of the episodes prior. I noticed that I see a lot of screenshots coming from this episode, notably the ones with Amy, which plays into the very effect on Amy's public reception that I'll get into once the Sonic X review is over. Eggman still continues his evil schemes, even building the Egg Fort immediately after his old base was destroyed. In the last episode of the season, the heroes have gotten at least 5 of the emeralds, with Eggman getting 1. Sonic gets the last emerald from a robot named Lucky, but Eggman already has 6 due to tricking Knuckles and Chris into giving them to him. Using the emerald's power, the Egg Fort transforms into the E99 Exterminator. This allows Eggman to beat Sonic to a pulp. However, Chris steals the emeralds and jumps off the robot. He does end up dropping them to the waters below, but Sonic manages to reclaim them, allowing himself to transform into Super Sonic, which he makes quick work of the Exterminator. After he defeats Eggman, another Chaos Control erupts. Since this is how they got to Earth in the first place, everyone would assume that this is where they will be taken back home. But no. Instead, parts from their world, notably Mystic Ruins and Angel Island, are brought into Earth, leaving Sonic and friends still stuck there for the time being. And that is the end of the first season. In summary, the show starts off pretty slow. This season's main focus is world building and establishing their core characters. In Amy's case, we know that she's a young girl, madly in love with our Titlebrue hero. Although he doesn't pay attention to her most of the time, she still continues to make every advance she could think of to express her love for him. But this only mainly results in him either shying away from her affections or running off away from the team to be alone. The episodes, for the most part, are pretty formulaic in terms of structure and the plot for each of them. Most of the episodes here can be summarized with Chris hangs out with Sonic's friends while Sonic goes off somewhere on his own. Eggman does something wrong, Sonic shows up again by the end to defeat him. Rinse and repeat. But the ending of the season, however, does tease the next few story arcs the show will get into in the next season, notably the Sonic Adventure adaptations, which could mean that in the next season things will finally pick up. And I can surely tell you that it will.